all of those who are here to kindly take your seats, please. We have with us Mr. Prashant Pandita, who is originally from Kashmir and is now settled in Mumbai. And he has just come out with his first novel, The Jehlum Boys, which is available at the bookshop. And I will be in conversation with him regarding his journey from Kashmir to Mumbai and as a debut author. Hello? Can we be heard? Yeah, okay, great. So Prashant, first of all, welcome to Ranchi and welcome to the Tata Steel Jharkhand Literary Meet. This is not only your first book, The Jehlum Boys, but I believe it's also your first literary meet.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for calling me. Yes, this is my first book and first literary meet that I am attending.
Well, congratulations.
My book has gone to few literary meets, but in person I'm attending a literary meet for the first time.
Okay, great.
So thank you for calling me.
Our pleasure. Even though this is your first full-fledged work of fiction, you are no stranger to the written word because you've been blogging for quite some time.
Yeah.
So in one of your blogs, I read that you've described yourself as an engineer who loves to write, but is stuck in the corporate world for the last 26 years to cater to his worldly needs and desires.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Would you like to let us know a little bit about that?
See, actually, I'll tell you, right from my childhood, I was a good writer, if I can say so. I would participate in all the competitions, whatever would be held that time. There would be, in our time, there would be essay writing competitions, letter writing competitions. I would invariably participate, and I would end up amongst the top 3, 4. So that writing bug was already there. But I had never thought that I will be ever writing a book. That was never on my agenda, and because I had an idea that somehow writers don't make that much of money. So that thing had never crossed my mind that I will ever be writing a book. So that's it. How this writing thing happened, that's a different story altogether. Writing was a hobby and passion. That's it. So I never intended to write a book, and that too a book of 1,50,000 words. My book is 1,40,000. Now it is 1,10,000 because we edited it down. But when I first brought the book out, it was 1,50,000 words. So that is too much for a debut writer. So that's it. That's it about it. I never intended to be a writer. You can ask me why I became a writer later on. That's a different thing. But writing was a passion, and I understood that it won't give me that much. That type of lifestyle which I wanted, basically. So that is
So
how.
it was a hobby.
It was a hobby. It was a hobby, and it was a hobby. Even now, I participate in all the Tata group competitions. I write for Tata World. I write for Tata Motors in-house magazines. I write for Tata World also. So it was always there. Writing just happened. This writing a book just happened. It just happened.
And you are an engineer.
I'm an engineer basically.
By profession. So
That's
that's the bread and butter.
Yeah, that's the bread and butter.
So before we come to why you decided to write this particular book, I wanted to ask you, you've grown up in Kashmir. You spent the first 18 years of your life in Srinagar.
Yes.
So very formative, impressionable years.
Correct.
And your book is also set in Kashmir initially, and then it moves to the US and in other parts of the world. But it starts in Kashmir. It is essentially a story about Kashmir and people of Kashmir. So tell us a little bit about, I don't know how many of us here in the audience have been to Kashmir. I have never had the opportunity to visit yet, but I do hope to someday. So there are these, impressions of this fabled land of enormous beauty. And we've all heard, Amir Khusru's famous couplet.
Yeah.
Gar Firdaus
For those
Barwe,
Baroe Zamiyast,
Zaminast,
Thamiyast,
Aminast,
Thamiyast,
exactly.
Thamiyast. Yes.
Which means that if there is a paradise on earth, it
It's
is
here,
here,
it's
it is
here,
here,
it's here. Yeah.
exactly. So what was it like, growing up in this paradise on earth? And, it's a land of great natural beauty on the one hand, but also a lot of turbulence in its history on the other hand. So what was it like growing up in Srinagar?
See, when I was growing up, this turbulence part was not there that much. So I have very fond memories of Kashmir. Ours was a big joint family, all cousins. We were all together. So the extent of being joint was such that till my around fourth, fifth standard, I was not knowing who is my cousin and who is my real brother or sister. That was the extent. And fortunately for us, we were a bunch of around 8, 9 cousins who were of the same age group, say 8 plus minus 2, 3 years. So that was an added advantage. We were more of friends rather than cousins, and so we were Atmanirbhar as far as friendship was concerned. We didn't need to look outside for friends. So that is the family part. There are very fond memories. So when elders would not be there, there would be riot, almost riot within the house, because with so much of young children around, we still are quite well knit. In fact, using the word cousin is still a taboo in the family. And then the school where I went, that school was one of the most famous schools in the valley, and it was more into co-curricular activities. So, courtesy that school, I have seen every part of Kashmir. I have been to almost every part of Kashmir, and I have seen the beauty firsthand. And I can't describe. I don't know how to describe how beautiful it was, because when I first left Kashmir, it was like a cultural shock for me. Seeing the rest, I don't mean that other parts of the country are not so beautiful, but I was used to a certain type of beauty. I was used to having rivers near my house. I was used to seeing apples. So, and I was used to seeing very less population also.
Snowfall, I'm
And
sure.
snowfall, definitely snowfall. So those things were not there. So in that sense, I missed it. I still miss it. I have not gone there from last 30, 40 years. 1990 was the time when we left it. In fact, my children went there 2, 3 years back, but I have not gone there after that. So there are very fond memories of
Is
Kashmir.
that because you don't want to sully your memories?
Yeah, probably because of that, because my family went there, my children went, but I preferred not to go, and probably because of my job thing also, I can't take so many leaves. So I have very fond memories, and when I was growing up, this problem was not there. The turmoil, what we are talking about now, it was not there to such an extent. Probably when 85, 86, little undercurrents of it had started.
So
But
which year did you leave?
I left in 1990.
Okay.
So by 85, 86, little undercurrents had started. So by that I was already around 15, 16 years old. So when I was growing up, when I was in school, I actually didn't feel this. What we are hearing now and what we are seeing now.
So you said that, from a very young age, you've been participating in competitions in school, in letter writing and other extracurricular activities. So growing up in this large household with many brothers and sisters, did you find time to read? Were you a reader? What were your early childhood literary influences, if any?
I was a voracious reader. And I believe that unless and until you are not a voracious reader, you are not an avid reader, you cannot be a writer to the extent that you cannot write a book. So in my childhood, it was mostly Hardy Boys. So and Indrajal comics. I was very fond of them. I had subscribed them. Then when I grew up a little in college, it was Sidney Sheldon. But then life happened, and life happened. I means I got a job. I got married. So all these things took a backseat. So after that, yes, I still do not read that much. I don't get time to read that much. But now I read only the books which are famous, which become famous due to some reason. Like you hear that Shiva trilogy has become famous, so it generates a curiosity within me. So I tend to read those books. In fact, the last book what I have read is Amish's Rama. So I read only those books now which are either recommended to me or which create a buzz. Otherwise, I don't get time now. I frankly, I don't get time to read now because I'm so much into my job and I'm into sales and marketing. You can understand how sales and marketing goes. So I hardly get any time to read.
When did you find the time to write?
Yeah. So
I mean, a full-fledged book, and like you said, it's a voluminous book
yes,
of many words.
yes.
So how did you take out that time?
See, my story of becoming a writer is as filmy as it can get. I have told you I was a good writer, but I had never intended to be to write a book. But things change, circumstances make you do some things which which were never in your plan. What actually happened in end of 2016, 2017, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. So almost whole of 2017 was spent in and out of hospitals in Mumbai. And unfortunately, in 2017 itself, few things happened within my company, within the professional life, which were not so favorable to me. So I was getting frustrated. I began to think that I am losing grip of the things around me. So it was very tumultuous time. And when finally she passed away in 2018 April, and call it a divine intervention or because that was the final nail in the coffin. After that, I was fully depressed. I was totally devastated. There was a guilt factor also of not having been able to save my mom. So call it a divine intervention or probably her intervention only because they say you lose a parent, you gain a god. So just 2-3 months after her death, there was a writing competition within Tata Group again. And I participated. And as usual, I was amongst the top 2-3. I was there. But this time when I was writing, I noticed a difference. I noticed that when I am writing, my mind is totally clutter free. Nothing else is coming to my mind because those days it was a very difficult time for me. So my mind was cluttered with all sorts of negative thoughts. There was this guilt factor also, not having been able to save her, though we tried our best. So all these things were there. I noticed that when I am writing, nothing else is coming to my mind. So it was a sort of meditation for me. You can say a catharsis. So it was a way. I thought that I have found a way to get out of this depressive side. So I thought writing was already a hobby. So I started writing. I started writing blogs. I started writing for my in-house Tata Motors magazines. But then I realized that these are short-term things. A blog takes 2 days, an article perhaps 7. What after that? So that is when it struck me that let me do something which hooks me. That is how this idea of this book came about. So I began writing in all my free time to the extent that today I'm talking to you because of that. So that is how it started. That is how I decided to write a book.
So now let's come to the book. Before we get into the story and the characters, the name of your book is the Jehlum Boys. And you have chosen to spell it Jehlum.
Yeah.
Now, many people might think that's a typo or something.
Yes.
But you have clarified in your,
Prologue.
I think in your prologue, yeah, that this is the way Jehlum is pronounced and spelled in Kashmir.
Kashmir.
So, why did you decide to go with this spelling? And did you have to like convince your editor about it? Or
Yes,
your publisher?
I had to convince my publisher about it. But then I told her that it's not I who am pronouncing it wrong. It is you who are pronouncing it wrong. Because this is my word. This is a word from my territory. And we pronounce it like this. So you better keep it like this only. Then she told me, okay, you make a prologue. This prologue was my editor's idea. Because when they did not buy my idea entirely, so they thought that if we have this doubt, so other people might also have this doubt. So this prologue was written just 1 or 2 days before the book was published. So because I told them nothing doing, it has to be Jehlum. Because that is how we Kashmiris pronounce it as. And you guys are pronouncing it wrong. Don't tell me that I am pronouncing it wrong. I am writing it correctly. In fact, even today,
So it's
if you go to Kashmir, if you go to Srinagar, and if you see any shop, any business establishment named after Jehlum, it will be Jehlum. That is the spelling we have been using since childhood. And
and how do you pronounce it?
Jehlum.
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 Jehlum. Okay.
Jehlum.
Right.
Yes. That
So-
is the Kashmiri pronunciation of it. So that is why I chose to keep it like that. I'm a Kashmiri, and this book is about friends of Kashmir. So I wanted it to be like that only.
You know, they say that most first novels are semi-autobiographical in some way or the other. And I think it's safe to say that you have drawn a lot upon your own childhood and adolescence in crafting this story. Am I right? And how much did you sort of draw on your own memories of growing up in Kashmir? And was there any specific motivation that led to this story of a friendship between two boys, Nishant and Mudassir, who belong to two different religions but study in the same school?
Yes.
And then they become the best of friends, and that is the foundation of your novel. So what was it that you drew from your own experience that led to this story becoming your first book?
Yes, I believe that anyone who is writing, particularly first book, this point you are absolutely bang on, because when you are writing your first book, you cannot get ideas from abstract. It has to come from somewhere within only, from all the experiences, or from the books you have read. So yes, I would say that the first part of the book, is what I have, I may not have experienced, is what I have witnessed firsthand. I was there when this thing happened on January 19, 1990. I was there.
This is, you're talking about the exodus,
The exodus.
of the Pandits from the
Yeah,
valley.
I was there.
Yes.
I was there that day. So I have seen people coming onto the roads and shouting, people going to the mosques and shouting from there. I have seen that firsthand. And then when people came to Jammu, I also went to Jammu within next 2-3 days. We also left. Fortunately, we had my uncles, they stayed in Jammu, so we didn't have to go to camp and all. But then there were people who had to live in camps. I know a few families who had to live in camps. I know many people who died there because Kashmiris are not used to very high temperature. Any temperature above 35, 36 in Kashmir was what it is like 45, 46 is in Bombay. So you can safely say that, yes, the first part of the book is from my experiences also. Even the childhood fun part, what you are seeing in this book, that the fun
the
part.
sports and
Yes,
the
the fun
swimming
part.
competitions.
Yes, that
is your life.
That is, yes, to some extent, because there are some instances every Wednesday going for a movie, invariably bunking the school. So that is from my life. I would go along with my friends. So then there is another incident when Nishant's father comes to his school for the very first day, That is his first day in the school, because in our days there were no PTMs and all that. Parents would come to school only on 2 3 days. One was Parents' Day, one was Sports Day, and one was the Drama Day or something. And my father has come school other than these three reasons only once, and that was the first day when I had bunked the school. So what are the odds? So sometimes life is stranger than fiction. So I have put that here. So the fun part between Nishant and Mudassar is, you can say, that is bit autobiographical, because there are some elements from my school days in that. But and the remaining part, it's not autobiographical, but I have witnessed most of it. I have witnessed.
So you have drawn from other people's
Yes,
stories and
yes,
lives and
yes.
experiences.
And the second part then is the fantasy part. So first part, yes, you are right.
So when you're drawing upon your own lived experiences and then, in a sense, borrowing others' experiences as well, how important do you think it is to strike a balance between fact and fiction? And was that ever a concern, or did you find it hard? Like how much should I reveal and how much should I hold back? Was there any of those decisions that you needed to make?
No, I was very clear that I am writing a fiction. So
Right.
I was not writing a historical something. So I was very clear that I am writing a fiction. So just to give some semblance to that fiction, I had to take some things from my own experiences. Like, say, supposing I could not have shown any other guy other than Nishant being thrown out of the valley, because it was actually Nishant who was thrown out of the valley. Some historical facts, you cannot deviate from some historical facts, even if you are writing a fiction. If you are writing a fiction and if you say that we were ruled by French till 1947, people will not accept that. So you have to stick to some historical facts. But I was very clear in my mind that I am writing a fiction. It is a fiction, and I was purely in my mind I was writing a fiction only. And coming to the second part, how did I get the idea for the story of your question?
Yes.
See, this Exodus part was etched in my memory, and it still is. It will be there for the rest of
It's
my
a
life.
life-changing experience for
Yes.
anybody.
So it is. It will remain there. But there is another incident which had got me thinking to think about the other side of the story as well. In 2003, 2004, I was traveling somewhere south, and I went to my hotel room in the evening. I saw one Outlook magazine on the table, and there was a photograph on the cover of it, and that photograph looked familiar. So when I read the cover story, they had called that guy a terrorist, and that guy turned out to be my friend, my close friend, my schoolmate. And it had got me thinking that time that how could such a nice guy become a terrorist? Because he was academically quite good, and he was one of the best guys in the class. So it had got me thinking, but I had never thought that I'll be writing a book on this. But that it had
Was
got
a
it
spark.
yeah it had got registered somewhere at the back of my mind, somewhere in subconscious. So when all these things happened in 2018, when I decided that I have to write something to hook me, so I took part of the Exodus, I took part of the Exodus, and I took this idea, and I started weaving a story around them. And one thing led to another, and characters came in, and ultimately, finally, I'm here talking to you.
Uh, I've read your book in a few weeks ago, and what struck me was that it's a very fast-paced book.
Yes.
The story keeps moving quickly, and there's a lot of dramatic action that goes on, especially towards the end,
Yes.
when Nishant goes to find his friend.
Friend.
So parts of it read almost like a thriller.
Yeah.
And then I was reading one of your blogs in which I think you wrote a blog on Amitabh Bachchan
Yes.
and your family's fan base.
Yes.
So have you been influenced by, action movies? And how has cinema influenced your storytelling?
I would be lying if I say that it has not.
Because it
Because,
is a very,
yes, because,
I mean, if I can say so, there is a lot of melodrama and
yes,
there
yes,
is a
yes,
lot of
it is there.
cinema. It's a cinematic
See,
book.
I'll tell you, for every book I would have read when I was young, I would have seen 3 or 4 movies. So that was the ratio. Because when we were young, in our times, it's not like your times, but in our times, the movie was the strongest form of entertainment. There was no Instagram, there was no YouTube, there was no internet, and even TV was not that mature. TV would be there from 7 to 10 in the evening. That's it. So you have got it absolutely correct that I have been influenced by
Cinema.
cinema a great deal, because that is somewhere at the back of my subconscious. It would have been there, that it would have affected my story telling, or the style of narration. I agree with
And
this.
primarily Hindi cinema.
Only Hindi cinema.
Yeah.
I
Commercial Hindi
commercial
cinema.
Hindi cinema. I was a big fan. I still am a big fan. In between, there was a gap when our children were growing up. We didn't get that much of time, but I am again back to it. So yes, you are right.
And so suppose, would you like to see your book being turned into a movie? Is that a thought that has crossed your mind?
It has not crossed only my mind. It has crossed my publisher's mind also, and my agent's mind also.
Right. And is there
So
any news on that front, or is it too soon?
it's too soon to reveal anything about it right now.
Okay. Okay. So I won't prod any further on that. But another thing that struck me about your book is, despite many tragic incidents that unfold, there is a sense of optimism and a sense of hope. And that is primarily because you believe in the goodness of human beings and personal relationships. Whether it is your two main protagonists or some of the supporting characters, like when Nishant and his family end up in the refugee camp, there is
Bansilal.
Bansi Lal, who becomes sort of a mentor to Nishant and actually puts him on his path towards the rest of his life. And even the whole lot of friends and colleagues that they meet later who help Nishant to find his friend, who has gone off on his own path and his own journey, which leads him to very treacherous circumstances. So there are always people who pop up to help.
Yes.
And I sense that you are an optimistic person and you wanted to write a hopeful book.
Correct. I am an optimistic person, and I'm a sucker for friendship and loyalty. In fact, if I ever write again, these elements will always be there. You have noticed it very correctly. And there is another aspect to it. See, I wanted Nishant to show that Nishant has gone through so much of things in his life, but I wanted to show that he is still optimistic. The reason being, Nishant, to a certain extent, represents the whole of Kashmiri community. We have been thrown out of Kashmir, but still we are doing quite well for ourselves. You will hardly, our community, even today, we are like, our community's literacy rate is almost 100%, crime rate is almost zero. So more or less like Parsis, but Parsis are very little in number. We are around 5 lakh, 5-6 lakhs. So we have done quite well. So I wanted to show that element. So Nishant, to some extent, represents the whole of Kashmiri Pandit community, because I wanted to show that he has gone through so much in his life, and still he's so optimistic, and still he's not negative, and he's doing so well for himself. So it was a conscious effort. So that I wanted to show. So to that extent, you are correct, and I have already told you that I'm a big sucker for loyalty and friendship. And I'm myself a very loyal friend, so I like it that way. So in fact, whenever I write again, these elements would always be there. But then there are many negative characters also in the book.
Yes.
So
But it is very much
yes,
about, good versus
yes, it
evil
is. It is
and
good versus evil, and it is showing. Show two perspectives. One is Nishant's perspective, then another is Mudassir's perspective. How could such a nice guy? He also, to some extent, you can say, represents Kashmiri Muslim community. That how could such a nice guy suddenly become something bad?
but he was on a mission as well.
He
I
was on a
mean,
mission, but why was he on a mission? That people can see from the book.
yes, once they read the book.
There are some life changing circumstances which lead him to this. In fact, even his family wants him to be like that. Why? That is there in the book.
Yes. Uh, you've written in a very easy and a very relatable language.
Yes.
It's not a hard book. It's a book that moves fast. It's written very simply. Did you have any specific readership in mind? Was it aimed at young adults, or how did the language of the book come about? Did you deliberately choose to write in a very simple and accessible fashion?
No, because I told you the my idea when I started this book, my idea was just to write some story. So I had a story in mind, so just to write that story. I didn't, for this book, this is my first book, for this book, I didn't have any audience in mind, particular audience in mind. I just wanted to write what I felt that I should write. And what I thought that will keep me busy. Because my main idea when I started it, and to tell you, I had not given myself any target that of finishing this book. I had just thought that I'll keep on writing. So there was no audience as such in mind. But after having finished it now, I think anyone who likes stories about friendship and who wants to know how far friends can go from each other, this book is for them. If anyone wants to know what happened in Kashmir, to some extent it can help. So now I have an audience for this. But let me tell you, when I write another book, because now that Kida has come, so when I write another book, I might have some audience in mind. I in my own small way, have started doing my market research. I talk to my friends, female friends. I ask them different questions. Male friends, I ask them different questions. So I am beginning to get a feel of what people like, what genders like. So probably for my next book. But for this book, no. Because the reason, I've told you, the reason of writing this book was to write something.
It was
And
personal.
it was personal. So that's about it.
Right. Unlike making a film, writing is a activity of solitude. You have to write on your own.
Yes,
Whereas, if you're making a film, it's a whole team and it's a group activity.
correct.
So, how has this journey been from, especially as a first-time writer, from writing and then, approaching publishers and possibly working with an editor, getting your book published? Tell us a little bit about the journey of, just having this idea in your head and writing, and then the book coming out to the world.
See, there are two aspects to it. Writing is a solo thing, but in my case, what happened? But because I was writing it secretly, I was initially for 1 year, 1.5 years. After that, I had decided that I am shaping a book. But for first year, it was more to take care of my depressive state. So I was writing it secretly. So yes, one has to write in solitude. So what I would do is I would wake up at around 5:30, and I would reach my office by 7:30. Office starts at 9. So I would get good 2 hours in the morning, and then evening also I'd be back by 6:30, and I would again go to my room and start writing. So even that would mean a lot of cribbing from my wife. What are you doing? You are working 24 hours, because she was thinking I'm working, but I was actually writing. So yes,
So it was really a secret. You
Y-
told
Yeah,
nobody.
I told no one. So when around 90% of the book was complete, my daughter was the first one in whom I confided. So The poor girl was happy. She thought that I am telling her a secret, but there was a selfish motive also because she had just finished her engineering. Her admission was secured in US, but they had told her that she had to come next year. So everything was set for her, and she was doing nothing. So I thought that I should have someone who can take care of my missing commas and full stops. Basically, proofreading.
Proofreader.
Basically, proofreading, and the second part, looking for agents and publishers. Basically, looking the process, what to do. So she was super excited. She started writing to agents, publishers, and we wrote to around 30, 40 agents and publishers. Whosoever's name we would get on Google, and we would get the email ID and write. So some didn't respond. Most of them didn't respond. Some responded with some nice words, but nevertheless a no. One publisher responded that this book, for a debut writer, you are giving us a book of 1,50,000 words. It's too much. You can reduce it to 80,000. We can do it. So I thought reducing a book of 1,50,000 to 80,000, that would be too much. The story will lose its essence. So in this case, I wrote to them that I will reduce it, but let us keep it at 120, 130, that much I can do. But then they did not respond. So ultimately, we got an agent. But when I got the agent, she told me that you have finished the most difficult, easiest part of your job, that is writing a book. Now your job starts. So that time I didn't understand what she meant, but now I am gradually beginning to understand that. And I was lucky also, to some extent, I'll tell you, because I am a part of WhatsApp group of writers. And there I hear stories, writers, for some it has taken 5 years to get published. There's a writer who has taken 10 years to get his book published. And I got my agent within 4-5 months. I finished my book in August 2020. And I got my agent in around November. In December, we signed a contract. By January, she gave me a fabulous editor. And by July, the editing part was over, while concurrently, simultaneously, we were looking for a publisher also. Then from July, in around October, September, we got the publisher. And by January 2022, the book was out. So in a way, I consider myself lucky. I told you there has to be some intervention. I don't know, maybe the divine intervention, because everything was happening so smoothly for me. Everything, almost 1.5 years. Within 1.5 years, you are getting an agent. You are getting your book published. All this thing was something. And the biggest coincidence of it all is that my publisher called me in January, and she told me that the book will be released somewhere between 20th to 25th of January. So 22nd January is my mom's birthday. So I told her that, okay, let's do it on 22nd. So book was released on 22nd of January. So somewhere she was playing a part, I don't know.
So what advice do you have for, first-time writers, as one yourself, who are looking to get published or who are still struggling to find a publisher? Do you have any words of advice for them?
Yes, one gentleman had asked that question. So I would say that how I did it. I would say that never wait for that moment that you will get the entire story in your head. It will never happen. You will get an idea. And how to expand that idea is the job. You will not get the story scene by scene, character by character in your head. At least in my case, I didn't get it. I had an idea, and I would sit down and write. And don't disturb your momentum when you write. When I got when I decided that I have to write the book, I would sit and write. And the discipline of writing daily, I would write irrespective, no matter how much tired I was. And let me tell you, this book would have been written at almost 30% of the airports within country, at least the bigger ones. So I would write everywhere. So I told you I would reach my office early. I would leave my office by 5, 6:30, and again I would write. So discipline of writing daily and time management. These are the two things that are going to help you. And don't wait for that moment that you will get the entire story. And write the first draft. Pick up the pen or computer, whatever you are comfortable with, and start writing. Don't think that I am writing trash. The gems are going to come out of that trash only. When I wrote my first draft, I would sit and write anything, and whatever would come to my mind. And I don't think in English. I think in Hindi or Kashmiri. I don't think in English. So wherever I would get stuck with some word, or there are some sentences in Hindi that don't have the same essence in English, or you have to look out for that essence. I would not wait. I would write in Hindi and carry on. So the first draft, if you see, there were some Hindi words also while I was writing it. But I would not stop, because that will stop the momentum. If you have decided that for 2 hours you are going to write continuously, whatever comes to your mind. You will feel that you are writing trash, whatever is come. But when you analyze, you write the first 1,000, 2,000 words. When you analyze those 1,000, 2,000 words, you will make a sense of around 100, 200 words you will start getting. Those 100, 200 words will be the gems you will be getting from that trash. One sir, I think he was a professor, he had asked ma'am that how to do that. So in my opinion, if somebody wants to write his first book, don't wait for the entire story to come to your head. It will never come. You have to just get down and start writing. Things will fall in place. First 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 words will look trash, but then you will slowly start getting the idea of the things. Write the first draft. I finished my first draft in around 8, 10 months. Then the polishing work started. Unfortunately or fortunately, COVID happened. So it was an unfortunate incident, but it helped me. Before this teams invaded our lives and teams conquered us completely, I got around 7, 8 months, full 7, 8 months, wherein I didn't have to do anything. Bartan Manda and all I did, but apart from that, I didn't have to do any office thing and all. So I got those 8, 9 months, and that was the first time I got a whiff that, boss, I can finish this book now. So I started tying the loose ends, uh, concluding the chapters. So that way one has to do it. And I was not knowing that one does not need to write a book of 1,50,000 words for my first book. My
So it's
second,
been a learning journey as
it
well.
has been a learning journey, but because my purpose was not, because I had not given myself any target also. Not that I'm going to write it in next 3 years, 4 years. Just because COVID helped me, otherwise I would have been writing even now.
So this brings me to the inevitable question, when is there a next book? Is there an idea? Have you already started working on something?
No, ideas are there. Not one. There are many ideas, but I have not started working because I am too much into my job now. So now my bosses also know that I write a book.
It can't be a
I
secret
write books, so
anymore.
it can't be a secret anymore. I have not started writing a book, but I have few ideas in my mind, and I probably might start sometime soon. So I told you now I'm doing my own little market research sort of a thing. So that way I will. The second
Is
book.
that where the engineer comes in?
Yes, the second,
Planning and
yeah,
the...
the second book would be as per what you had asked me, whether I had any readership in mind. Probably for my second book I will have some readership in mind. That is how I plan it to be.
I think we have time for a few questions from the audience, if anybody would like to ask. Yes, sir. Can we get a mic at the back to him, please?
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Let me confess at the outset that I have not read the book. I'm not into counterfactuals, but I'm going to ask a question about counterfactuals. If I pronounce it Kashmir, Kash, only if. So, what do you think? I'm putting you in a spot as a creative person, fiction writer, in the past, present, or future, uh, where you see things happening differently. Maybe one thing could be truth and reconciliation, like it happened in South Africa, apartheid. So all three, the past, present, and future. What would you? How do you want things to proceed, or in the? Thank you.
No, I want things to be back to normal, what they were previously. Who wouldn't want it like that? So I want whatever brotherhood was there previously in Kashmir. I want it to be like that. There were, I hope you know that there were not single communal rights in Kashmir till 1986. Not a single. From 1947, even in 1947, when whole of India was going through something this thing, nothing was happening there. So I would obviously want it like that. Not only in Kashmir, everywhere.
Anybody else? There's a gentleman here and somebody in the corner.
थैंक यू सो मच सर. मेरा एक सवाल था, जैसे कि आप लिखते हैं और मैं भी एक ऑथर हूँ, तो कभी कभी क्या होता है कि राइटिंग ब्लॉक्स आ जाते हैं, कुछ सोच नहीं पाते कि क्या लिखना है, तो उस ब्लॉक को आप कैसे ये करते हैं, नॉर्मलाइज करते हैं?
हाँ, राइटिंग ब्लॉक्स आते हैं और राइटिंग ब्लॉक्स को रेस्पेक्ट करना चाहिए. जब राइटिंग ब्लॉक आता है सो आप ये समझ लीजिए कि आप 2-4 दिन मत लिखिए, 2-4 दिन उसके बारे में सोचिए भी मत. या जो भी आपका टाइम गैप आप दे सकते हैं, बट राइटिंग ब्लॉक्स को रेस्पेक्ट करना चाहिए. आते हैं, 100% आते हैं. मेरे साथ भी हुआ था. मैंने हालांकि अभी बोला कि डेली लिखना चाहिए, डेली लिखना चाहिए, डेली लिखना चाहिए, बट राइटिंग ब्लॉक्स आते हैं. दैट इज़ वो एक सच्चाई है जिसको जुटलाया नहीं जा सकता है. बट उसके लिए बेस्ट है कि उसको रेस्पेक्ट करो, उसको रेस्पेक्ट करो और 2-4 दिन वैसे टलने दो. 2-4 दिन के बाद आप फिर से एक बार बैठो और आप देखोगे वो धीरे धीरे चला जाएगा. आपको खुद 2-4 दिन आप जब बैठोगे ना, आपको खुद एक बेचैनी टाइप लगेगी कि अब मैं फिर बैठ सकता हूँ और लिखूंगा. बट राइटिंग ब्लॉक को रेस्पेक्ट करो. अगर आप राइटिंग ब्लॉक में भी लिखने बैठ गए तो उसमें आप डीपर चले जाओगे. आपको रेस्पेक्ट करनी चाहिए राइटिंग ब्लॉक की. 1-2 दिन में चला जाता है, 3-4 दिन में. मंथ्स ऑल टुगेदर अगर राइटिंग ब्लॉक है तो वो राइटिंग ब्लॉक नहीं है, कभी अपना खुद का आलस होता है. बट अगर 2-3 दिन के लिए अगर लगे तो राइटिंग ब्लॉक्स आते हैं और उसको रेस्पेक्ट करना चाहिए. 2-4 दिन उसको टाल के थोड़ा अपना काम करना चाहिए.
सर एक और क्वेश्चन था.
I think we have somebody else also who wants to ask. Please, just one question. Thank you.
Sir, do you think that tiredness affect how you write? Matlab, if you have, if someone had write with a fresh mind and if someone has write with a tired mind, does it affect the writing?
हाँ.
How do you think about it?
Yes, it affects. It is not only writing. Everything is affected if you write with a tired mind, and everything is good if you write it with a fresh mind. So yes, it affects. So जिस दिन आप अगर tired हैं, उस दिन थोड़ा कम लिखिए. जैसे मैं जैसे लिखता था, मैं नॉर्मली दिन के 200-250 वर्ड लिखता था, जो मेरा एवरेज रहा है. 200-250 वर्ड मैंने 3 साल में दिन के लिखे हैं. लेकिन जब मुझे लगता था मैं बहुत थका हूँ और मैं जो ये 200-250 वर्ड लिखूंगा और उसके साथ मैं पूरा जस्टिस नहीं कर पाऊंगा, तो मैं उस दिन 100-50 वर्ड पे रुक जाता था. मेरे को खुद लगता था कि क्योंकि जब आपका दिमाग थका है और जो चीज़ दिमाग में से आएगी वो उतनी इंटरेस्टिंग नहीं होगी कि जितना जब व्हेन यू आर फ्रेश, सपोजिंग, एंड व्हेन यू राइट इट दैट टाइम, there would be a difference. And it's not only for writing, it is for anything. When your brain is fresh, when you are reading, you will read better. When your brain is fresh, when you are driving, you will drive better. So same applies for writing also.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, one more question is, how much time does it take you to write the Jehlum Boys?
3 years.
Okay.
3
Thank you,
साल.
sir. Okay.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question from there. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everybody. And I was here right since the beginning you started. So my question to you is, in fact, I got a lot of clues, you know, how you dealt with rejections post your writing. So my question is about that, because I'm at the verge of completing a book. And so a lot of times you get rejections. So how do you deal with the rejections from the editor? Because I've grown up in an environment where I have always been taught to respect the things that you've created first, then only you get the respect from others. So what tactics did you use to, you know, get ahead of that rejections? Every day hearing a no from editors and all of that. So how did you deal with that? That would help me a lot.
So
Thank you.
first of all the best for your book. See, editors, you mean rejections from publishers, not editors. Yeah. So that we have to take in our stride. We have to keep trying. It is like you apply for a job and the company doesn't accept us. So what can we do about it? We can't do anything about it. So but we have to keep trying. You have to take a target that daily I will write to one or two good publishers, good agents. You'll have to keep scouting internet for that, and you'll have to keep trying, keep writing. There would be some who would like to negotiate with you, who will reply to your questions, and if you are able to convince them, good for you. But apart from that, there is nothing much what can be done. It is only you have to keep on trying. I told Shahana also that I was a bit lucky. But for 4 months I also faced rejections, day in and day out. We would receive mails. No, we are not interested. Because the name Kashmir also puts many people off, because they think there is something political in it, and if we publish it, we might be in trouble. For that, they have to read the book to know that there is nothing political in it. It's a book about friendship. Kashmir is just the backdrop. But then you can't convince them so much. So that's you have to keep on trying. There is no other way. You have to keep on trying for agents, and try for agents, more of agents than publishers, because it is very rarely that publishers directly take books from debut writers. They won't take, unless and until someone has become very famous. They won't take a book from debut writers. They will take a book from debut writers, like if there is someone like wo kaun hai? That guy who comes in. I don't remember the name. That business guy, no? No, not Chetan Bhagat. Chetan Bhagat was not famous when he wrote his first book. I am saying that guy who comes on television in some business-related program, Ashneel Grover. Unless and until you are Ashneel Grover, no one is going to take your book. Publisher will not take it. You have to approach agents. Approach agents, as many agents as you can, because publishers also go through agents. Good publishers, big publishers, they don't take first-time writers. They don't take. So that is my advice, and that is what I have experienced. Small-time publishers can write back to you, but then they will also try to play some smart games. So agents are the best bet. Look out for best agents and go through agents. Go through agents.
Thank you, Prashant, and congratulations once again for your debut book, and we hope there'll be many more. There are copies of the Jehlum Boys available at our bookshop, and I'm sure Prashant will be happy to sign them. We will now move on to the next session. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Shahana. Thank you. Thanks a lot for calling me. Thank you.